We need to get one thing out of the way right here, right now. I am going to be getting very angry within this review, but quite honestly, I don't care. This is a video where anger is fully justified because this video is one of the most shameless things I've ever seen another YouTuber create. No exaggeration, no hyperbole. We are going to be getting extremely heavy within this review, and I'm going to be listing off trigger warnings for child abuse and childhood trauma. If you wish to not hear these things within the review, or if you're in a situation that makes these topics uncomfortable for you, you are completely within your right to exit this video and possibly save it for another time when you're within a better place. I wish you nothing but the best, and if you are someone who is or has been struggling with coming to terms with these things, I truly am rooting for you, and I support you through whatever might come your way. And you deserve to have your struggles shared in a far more respectful way. And with that out of the way, let's begin the video. If you were just joining, let me catch you up to speed. Magical Mario Bros. Is a channel that I talked about a year ago, but since has rebranded his newer content to make it more mature. And by more mature, I mean just a Family Guy episode without the needless cutaway gags. Episode 1 could probably just be described as an overly long scene at the Drunken Clam. I would have left the series alone, but then I heard what he did in episode 2. Let me make one thing clear. It has been years since a piece of work has made me this angry. Like, legitimately angry over a topic handled poorly. Actually, no, scratch that. This topic isn't just handled poorly. This topic is handled in the worst way that I have ever seen. Plus, you or not, I don't care. And I'm going to tear it apart bit by bit by bit, because it is that bad. Let me put it like this. Back in 2021, I reviewed Nice Mario by Awesome Mario Bros., which was basically Luigi getting tormented by Mario for 18 minutes and Yoshi gaslighting him for wanting Mario to change. This video, a video that personally got under my skin because the personal experience is similar to it, doesn't hold a candle to how much I despise Silence is Not Golden by Magical. This is, no exaggeration, the worst plush video I have ever watched. I don't care about videos that are technically worse.
1, 2, 3. Okay, we got him. We got the girl, okay? Let's do it again. 1, 2, 3. Do it again. 1, 2, 3. You're a pretty princess. Okay, we got the cheerleader.
Those are just people not knowing what they're doing and having fun. This video is not knowing what you're doing and having the worst talking points about child abuse that I have ever seen. All operating around in the skin of a crappy sitcom that predates you by decades. So yeah, this video, very blatantly I might add, rips off the Full House episode Silence is Not Golden. In this episode, a character within the show has a friend who is suffering from child abuse. The two have a conversation about it, and it ends up getting reported and the child gets put into foster care. I'm skimming over this for right now because it really doesn't matter for right now how the subject was handled in the original source material. I'll highlight it later within the video as the very egregious examples are ones that need a lot more context than I can provide for right now. And once again, I'm going bit by bit. So let's finally dive into it. We begin with Junior and Yoshi looking at clouds.
Junior, you're gonna drive me crazy! You're sucking the fun out of cloud watching! More like cloud puffing, Yoshi, because you gotta be high to see anything out of these clouds.
Glad to know the 4th grade humor hasn't left this supposedly serious video. Speaking of which, the humor is at its worst here. Not only is there still the obnoxious sexual humor that Hazbin Hotel would scoff at, but because it comes up at the worst possible times and it obliterates the tone of the video. Whenever there's an actually decent moment or a moment that's supposed to be taken seriously, almost immediately after is a joke about Yoshi sucking off Cooper or whatever, and it gets really old really fast. But trust me, the humor in this video is the least of its problems.
Let me know when you want to actually do something fun. Whatever, Junior, go! You're gonna miss out on all the good stuff! Oh, so there are drugs! Get out of here!
Be glad that you actually have decent lighting, or some people might actually acknowledge the single worst attempts at humor that I've ever had the misfortune of sitting through on a channel that can do nothing but regurgitate other ideas that have been done far better by people who actually understand the basics of storytelling and comedy. Koopa sits down by Yoshi, and they talk and laugh as some more clouds go by and spend some time catching up and talking about Junior. It's a really sweet scene that finally gives you some more insight onto these characters and their dynamic. The only problem I have with this is the fact that it doesn't exist. Oh, trust me, they do eventually get to that point, but when it starts with this...
Hey Yoshi, you see those kangaroos fucking in the sky up there?
Oh They're really getting at it up there.
You borrowed all of my good graces right off the bat. Again, these jokes serve no purpose other than to desecrate the tone of what should be a much more serious video considering the subject matter. But then again, I guess it's more worth our limited time to imagine horses raw dogging in the sky than to actually tell a genuine story in your so-called mature series. And you know, my media diet mainly consists of a preschool show that managed to tell an incredible allegory for infertility in 7 minutes, so I might not be the best to consult on this, but I don't think you masturbating every single time you're able to get one hand free is the ultimate sign of maturity as others might lead you to believe. Tell a story! You chose to have a video about child abuse and how a character deals with it. Do it!
After he came to talk to me and apologize, he hasn't talked to me at all since. I'm really confused about where we stand. Well, I think Junior's just having trouble with the whole Shy Guy thing still. I mean, for me it wasn't as hard, because after everything they did to me, I still wasn't the greatest friends with Shy Guy. But him and Junior were inseparable. I think I'm almost completely over it, honestly.
Wow, Yoshi, I feel so bad for you. It must have been super hard to deal with that. Too bad the video doesn't show any of that, because then we would actually be able to connect with one of the characters for once. And that would require going through any effort whatsoever, and considering this video just plagiarized Full House for half its run, I might be asking for a bit too much. Koopa asks Yoshi if he can get a ride to school tomorrow, and Yoshi asks Mario, to which he informs Yoshi that Junior should be consulted about this beforehand, to which he completely ignores anyway.
You ready to head to school? Hell yeah, I'm ready. Let's hit it. Nuh-uh, not yet. We're waiting for one more thing. What's the one more thing? Yoshi, you didn't tell him? Nope, I didn't yet, but he's about to find out.
Oh yeah, that reminds me, every character is awful within this video. Here are the 2 types of character interactions you will get for about 95% of this video. Characters needlessly bickering over crap that shouldn't be that big of a deal, or out of one of them ignoring the other person and what they wish, and characters talking about sex. And on the off chance that there is a character interaction that's actually a character interaction, sex will more than likely be thrown in, even during the more serious moments, because maturity. It really is sad when Thug Life has better character interactions within a series, and some of the characters rank among some of the worst characters I've ever seen in any piece of work, plush video or not. This is the worst character roster that I have ever seen from another plush shipper, and it is not even remotely close. When they aren't the most lifeless pieces of cotton that have cursed my MacBook screen, each of them find a different way to make me want to slam my head into concrete. Take the next scene for example. It's a calm, quiet ride to school. Koopa and Yoshi are both talking about school and grades. It's actually a decent scene, the first time these characters are actually characters.
Dude, I love hanging out with you, bro. Me too, this has been great. What was that, Junior? Oh, nothing, Yoshi. Just some secondhand gagging from the giant dick in your mouth.
And then Junior ruins it. I hate Junior. I really hate this stupid turtle. Every scene he's in throughout a good majority of the video, he has to make a joke like this just because Yoshi is a little nice to Koopa. It's annoying and reminds me way too much of an ex-friend who did the exact same thing to me. Yoshi isn't getting off scot-free for ignoring Junior's request, but that's much more an issue with the storytelling than the actual character. The only reason Yoshi is written the way he is within the video is just so we can get to the talk about halfway through the video and learn that Koopa is being abused for really shoddy writing. He only gets a car right back, which was not what Mario agreed with him on, by the way. Also so we can get to this one moment where Junior is conveniently not here for arbitrary conflict, so we can get copy-pasted exposition that was better handled 40 years ago. This plot is filled with contrivances out the ass just so we can force a moment that was barely earned to begin with. But while we're on this car ride, I'd just like to take a little break from the video itself, calm myself down, and talk about something that I've been rather passionate about for a while when it comes to the channel specifically. The storytelling on Magical Mario Bros. Is horrible. Even ignoring the fact that most information you need is locked behind content that at one point was inaccessible, the way plot details are inserted into videos is terrible. Not only is it never elaborated on outside of 1 or 2 scenes if you're lucky, but they come out at random times and are never naturally built up so they can be explored. It's one thing, just simply hinting at a certain idea or story beat, or alluding to it through foreshadowing until you're ready for it to become more aware to your audience, but what Magical has done is have events that in no way correspond to whatever the story beat in question is, like Luigi getting a hangover because he misses Peach. Nowhere within the actual video itself is it hinted at this until it is directly brought up within the ending of the video. You can have it so that a character or their actions are not all what they seem, but you need to properly build up to it, and Magical just doesn't, which makes it harder to want these characters achieve their goals or overcome their struggles, because how am I supposed to know they're struggling if you don't tell me outside of them dropping it haphazardly and then forgetting about it? And why not show them making some sort of progress towards what they want? I understand we're only 3 episodes into this new series, but if it is to continue from the original magical videos, then surely some progress is to be made towards these characters achieving what they want, but there just isn't so far. Maybe if we actually established new goals that were separate from the older videos, we could have actually had the characters sit down and talk about it maturely and maybe get somewhere, but since these are already established goals from a previous backlog, it makes it seem like their stories go absolutely nowhere when they should be way further along. And I just want to say, I actually do think these ideas are interesting. Bowser wanted to become a better father. Luigi wanted to come to terms with losing Peach. Junior and Yoshi coping with the loss of their best friend. These are interesting ideas for character conflicts and arcs, and I do appreciate that Magical did take some time and put some thought into these different conflicts for these characters. But what makes it fall apart is that so far, nothing really is done with it, except for Junior and Yoshi's plot, because they've gotten the most focus, and that's a big issue too. So many characters just don't get that much time to be focused on, so it makes them not that interesting because they aren't going to be around on screen for long anyway, so why do I care? Magical can write good stories. He can actually come up with very good ideas for a channel, but he plays it safe, and that's the problem. You don't need to be the most original person ever, but if you have ideas that you set up, then you have to follow up on them properly, and so far we don't have anything. Fans can only hope that these ideas are followed up on within later episodes, but that might just be wishful thinking considering who we're talking about.
Hey Yoshi, did you take the trash out last night? The bin smelled like shit when I left. Uh-oh. No, Mario, I'm sorry. I totally forgot to do it again. Ah, seriously, Yoshi? Again? This is the second time in a row. You're in big trouble when we get home.
You forgot to take the garbage out again. Uh-oh. Dad said he'll deal with you later.
So after the car ride, we get to the scene. The scene that made me want to do this review, and is where the Full House plagiarism is very clear.
My dad's never hit me before. Does yours hit you?
My dad never hits me. Does yours hit you?
You know what? Never mind. Let's just not talk about it anymore, okay? Forget everything I just said.
No, just forget it. Let's do the assignment.
Let's just make one thing clear right here, right now. I do not want to insinuate or imply that Magical Mario Bros. Is a bad person for this video. I'm going to give this video every benefit of the doubt that I possibly can, and say that there is a slight possibility that this could have been in an attempt to deliver a genuinely heartfelt message about child abuse. But with that being said, saying this...
Listen, man, I hope you're gonna get out of trouble, okay? Just think of something fun, you know, like Mario Kart or Minecraft or something.
Well, you know what helps? Try thinking of a funny movie like Home Alone or Roger Rabbit.
To abuse victims while trying to talk about the subject seriously is indescribably careless video making, especially with the kind of audience this channel is notorious to having. This is up there as one of the most thoughtless, uncaring, shameful moments I've ever seen from another YouTuber. I don't care if it's a parody. When you're talking about child abuse, that needs to go away. No exceptions, no ifs, ands, or buts about it. It's time to get serious. And doing a damn near one-for-one, note-for-damn-note copy of a near 40-year-old sitcom that just barely knew about the subject matter because of it being normalized at the time, all while pretending to care about the people you're talking at, makes my blood boil in a way that I can't even describe to you. It is one of the most disgusting, one of the lowest moves I think I've ever seen from a content creator. And you want to know what the worst thing is? That alone would probably make this one of my least favorite plush videos ever made, but not only does this shamelessly, in the most unfiltered plagiarism I've ever seen, copy an episode of a crappy sitcom that predates him by decades about a subject as heavy as child abuse, not only does it masquerade itself as a genuine lesson about child abuse when anyone who is actually paying attention knows what's really going on, but you had the absolute gall to still have this stupid sex humor having kids saying crap like, "You can have something to think about when your dad is pounding you," or "getting you on the ground." Are you kidding me? Like, you can't even have the decency to cut the BS, sit down, and authentically have a scene where characters actually communicate without you having a boner every time you hit record, without the out-of-place swearing that not even Thug Life would entertain, without cracking the most stupid, out-of-place joke you could think of on the spot because you're desperately craving the attention of 12 cover your boys on their Hallmark art. For God's sake, Logan isn't even that tone deaf. It's to the point where I legitimately believe this video can actually be seen as offensive to people who had or are going through child abuse, because this kind of stuff cannot be said about child abuse in today's age. It was an episode of the 90s for the reason, because there wasn't much known about child abuse back then, but thanks to 30 years of research, we now have a better understanding of child abuse and the effect it can have on the child itself. To the point where things like this episode of Full House have become so outdated in its talking points that it should no longer be seen as valid. I mean, if you understood the bare basics, the simplest parts of what child abuse is like today, you wouldn't be making this video in the first place! To be absolutely fair, this video actually did do something that the Full House episode did not. It actually showed the kind of abuse that Koopa was going through. Too bad it's grossly exaggerated to the point where it can only be seen as cheap shock value. No abuser is dumb enough to leave their victims this riddled with blood and to cause this much damage to the victim unless their direct intention was to kill them. I'm not saying it doesn't happen. It does happen. But the point of the scene is to establish the kind of abuse Koopa is subjected to. And this kind of abuse to someone has a likely chance of killing the victim when that was obviously not the intention of the scene. The usual types of beatings are ones that can be covered up by clothes, or ones that would most likely be linked to by outside parties, as a kid tripping while playing on the playground. And a lot of the time, the child would be too scared to tell someone what's really happening anyway, due to the fear of what they think or know the abuser could do to them if someone finds out. So when you have this scene like this, that's so unrealistic and so detached from what actually happens behind closed doors, it adds to the disgusting and insincere nature of this video. And speaking of insincere, back to the Full House ass scenes.
Sometimes I forget how lucky Junior and I are. Some kids get it much worse than we do. Yoshi, where's this coming from? Do you want to tell me something? Well, yeah, I do. Well, the first part of telling me something is actually talking, you know. I know, Mario, but I promised I wouldn't say anything. And you told me to never break a promise. Well, yeah, we did teach you that. But with every rule, there's some exceptions, Yoshi.
Big deal, so she has to go to bed early. Doesn't she know how lucky we are? Some kids get punished a lot worse than that.
Stephanie, where's this coming from? Something you want to talk about?
Yeah.
I can't hear you unless you speak up.
But I can't. I promised I wouldn't tell. And you guys taught me never to break a promise.
Yes, well, that's a good rule, but once in a while, there are exceptions to every rule.
Like, he couldn't even be bothered to rephrase it so it didn't sound like a one-for-one copy. How low do you have to be as a content creator to go onto your platform and pretend to talk to people about child abuse while plagiarizing an outdated episode of a sitcom about it, and not even change a single thing to make it somewhat your own? That's a level of social blindness that I simply fail to comprehend. But if you can believe it, this is actually not the worst case of magical piggybacking off of a long dead sitcom. That is when we get to the ending. Mario calls the cops on Koopa's dad, and this is what leads us to the worst scene of the whole video, which is again ripped directly from Full House. Okay, so editing MPK here, the main point of the scene that I'm about to show you actually was not copied from Full House, and was actually Magical's original dialogue, which just makes it so much worse.
We did the right thing today, okay? And you know it deep down. But then why do I feel so shitty about it? Because it's a shitty situation, Yoshi. I mean, nobody really is a winner in this situation, except for Koopa, who's not going to be able to go to a loving family who's going to care about him and love him very, very much.
No. Just no. We need to get heavy for a moment here, so I'm just going to reestablish those trigger warnings that I listed in the beginning of the video, because this is where we get into the ugly side of it. If you wish to not hear what I'm going to say next, you're free to skip to the timestamp listed here. I am going to drop one of the most harsh truths that I think can ever be said when it comes to abuse of any kind. This comes from both extensive research on the topic and from personal experience from being emotionally and verbally abused by both friends and certain extended family members. If you truly 100% believe that child abuse victims, quote-unquote, win from simply just the perpetrator receiving consequences for their abuse and the victim being put into foster care with a supposedly loving family, if you think that's where it all just ends, you don't know how child abuse works. Or at the very, very least, You don't understand the psychological effects child abuse has on the child. I'll be talking for a long time about this, but please understand I have my reasons and I am going somewhere with this. And all of the information I have obtained are from genuine articles and sources that I will be linking within the description of this video. ncbi.nlm.gov and the Child Abuse Prevention and Treatment Act define child abuse as any act or failure to act by a parent or caregiver, teacher, coach, and anyone who has an educational or caregiving role that leads to physical or emotional harm, sexual exploitation or abuse, or death, or an act or failure to act which results in imminent risk of injury. Article then goes on to say maltreated children are likely to develop psychiatric disorders such as major depression, anxiety disorder, post-traumatic stress disorder, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, substance abuse, personality disorders, and psychosis over the course of their lifetime. Just from reading one article, you can see the kind of effects child abuse can have on the child. Another article from McLeanHospital.org states that child abuse of any kind, doesn't matter what, can increase risky behavior within children like obesity, alcohol use, or early pregnancy. But even moving past that, it can damage a child's perception of families and familial bonds by making it harder to trust other family members who might not have spoken up, especially when said family members were aware of it happening. And children that do suffer from abuse are more likely to develop stuff like anxiety, depression, or even memory issues, and learning disorders can also be a long-term effect of child abuse, as well as developmental delay as listed by childchapter.org. And this doesn't just stop or go away when you become an adult. Adults can have intrusive thoughts, flashbacks, and nightmares about their abuse as a child, which can and are symptoms of PTSD. Adults can socially isolate themselves from the people and world around them due to fear of it potentially happening again if they let somebody else in. And in some cases, they themselves can grow up to lead abusive relationships of their own because those who are nurtured by abuse could potentially see it as normal. And no matter what, childhood trauma is always going to affect someone more than adult trauma. As an adult, your brain is fully developed and is better equipped to handle trauma. As a kid, your brain is not, and now has to develop around abuse and trauma. Even if the abuser is given consequences, it still does not mean those lingering feelings of hurt, distrust, fear, and anxiety are gone. They are still there, and they can and will have an effect on the way the victim goes through life from now on, because they now have a warped perception of the world around them. Now, let me ask you all something, and I want a genuine answer in my comment. Put a timestamp around here answering the question that I am about to ask. Do you call this winning? If you truly believe that this is the abuse victim winning, or if you think that just because the abuser got consequences for their actions, if you think that in of itself is the victim winning, I genuinely believe you do not have any actual sympathy for abuse victims. Or being the most generous I can possibly be, you are either incredibly naive or incredibly out of touch. What about any of what I listed is winning in the victim's eyes? And why does there even have to be a winner or loser? You're not helping by saying that. You're just making it seem more insincere by making it seem like this is a game. And my patience for the plush community's wishy-washy handling of these kind of themes ended when Cody from Path of the Psycho was told by a manifestation of him being the absolute worst that there's good things to schizophrenia. You're not mature, you're not deep, you're not funny, you're not even on the same level as a preschool puppy in her family. You are pathetic. You took an episode of an old sitcom, made a one-for-one copy of it with outdated information, and pretended to care about child abuse and child abuse victims, and couldn't even be bothered to stop you with your constant masturbation during even the most serious of scenes. Jesus Christ, dude, have some freaking tact! And before you say that I can't do better because I'm not a plush tuber, I recently uploaded the Captain's Log episode, The Perfect Couple. Say all you want about how it's not technically better than Magical's video, but I had a message about homophobia and transphobia and how it affects an individual and had the decency to know what the hell I was talking about, instead of using Nick at Night reruns as my primary source of reference. I'm so sorry that you're so stuck up your own ass about some random dude on the internet who has damn near no effect on anyone's content, that not getting an epic Mario Bros looking video matters to you more than the story being presented to you. And the next time I see one of these insipid freaking takes, I'm taking it back to something.
Oh my god. Now I feel like such an asshole for acting the way I did. Now I really need to apologize to him.
Why chose to end the video here and not to give the video an actual resolution? Because it was a much better use of our time to get the worst PSA about child abuse the world will ever see. Strange for someone who's so obsessed with graphs and subscriber counts to not understand basic cause and effect. I truly hope to never have to visit this channel ever again because I truly hate it. I truly believe it to be one of the worst plush channels I have ever come across. You have a platform where you can actually reach people. There are people who could actually aspire and look up to you, as crazy as that sounds. And this is what you decide to present to them. Do better.